Hey everyone, how are y'all doing? Good. Thank y'all for coming out today. I know we're here because of dire circumstances. Obviously, we're here to remember Tyree Nichols, who is a unfortunate victim of police brutality and the attack on Black America. And we just want to be here to show our solidarity with the nationwide movement that's going on against police brutality, and also making sure that we're doing something in the community to make sure that we can pass police reform here in Spokane as well. And yeah, thank y'all for coming out. Let's see.
See her. All right. First of all, we need to be aware of where we are at this in this place and in this time. Why haslhalt isen kailuk squeeze squashawat tuchunasket. Limtamin kucha ulus ala iltum hulau. Allah il spokanitum hulau. Itum hulau Allah sklahat 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 isqueezed. So I just introduced myself in my native language in Syilxchin. In English, it's called Salish, Okanagan Salish. My government name is Alexis Galloway Tenasket. And I also told you the proper and original name for the land that we are gathering on today. And I said I'm grateful that we are gathering here on this Spokane land. Although I am grateful that we're gathering here, I have a lot on my heart about the reason why we're gathering here. In honor of the life of Tyree Nichols, as well as remembering and worrying for and honoring all of the others who have been lost to police brutality or lost to the justice system. So I brought some of the signs that I made in 2020 and carried around at several protests around that time. And looking at what has changed and what has not changed. The police and the mayor, the city administration have made a few very small changes, but for the most part, it's below the bare minimum. I have seen SCAR, Spokane, the Spokane Community Against Racism Coalition. I have seen the people in our community coming together and working very, very diligently, putting in hours upon days upon weeks, and now we're at 3 years. And a lot of people who are doing that work are not getting paid for it. I know I myself have found myself in some financial struggles, partially due to doing so much unpaid labor. And I know that others are having similar issues as well. So The reason for there not being progress is not because of the community. This community has been pushing and working and communicating and organizing town halls, organizing meetings, trying to collect all of the experiences and data of every type of group of human being that lives here in our community, and putting it all together and trying to present it and meet the people who are in decision-making spaces and in positions of power and authority, who have the power to make the changes. They've been packaging it and putting it in ways that would be understandable and would meet the people in authority where they're at in ways that they can understand. The reason that progress is being blocked is not because of the community. I'm seeing progress being blocked, and I'm asking myself, at what point does it become theft from our community? That people who are in positions of power, who are being paid by our taxpayer dollars, that we pay for pretty much every time we make a purchase here, and we have to make a lot of purchases to live here. So at what point are the people who ran whole campaigns to make decisions that impact the lives of everyone in our community, at what point are they failing to do their job? At what point are they just raking in profit for not representing the entire community? Who is the Spokane community? I'm asking all of you, who is the Spokane community? Who is the Spokane community? Who is the Spokane community? The people who are being paid to make decisions that impact our lives. It is not an option. It shouldn't. Is it even legal to allow people to die in the streets? Is it? Because I'm confused. The actions are not matching up with the words. And on that, I just want to say thank you, genuinely, from my heart, Liam Limt, to all of you for being here, to everyone who has poured their hard work and their heart and their soul and their caring into creating a place that's healthy and that's inclusive and that takes care of each other and that centers the needs of the most vulnerable in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. Appreciate you. Let's see. Our next speaker today is going to be Justice for All from SCAR.
Hi, how is everyone doing today? That's fantastic. I'm doing all right, you know, as well as one can be when you do this work and you see the outcomes. I make a joke that I'm a police accountability activist and I'm doing a really bad job. It's not as funny here because it's true. It's really true. We get all these people here right now. We get all these people involved right now. But where's the next step? Where's the onboarding process? Where do we get you involved with the actual work? And that's the asks for today. We want you to come to City Council with us. We want you to join Andrea and Alexis at the MAC movement. We want you to look at the police Leadership Advisory Committee's 2016 recommendation. So that explains that the Spokane community does not trust the police. And they haven't for a long, long time. And that hasn't changed. That hasn't gotten better. Their propaganda does not change that in our minds. And our third ask is one honestly from the bottom of my heart. We do not need a new jail. We do not. We do not need to fill another place where people still haven't had their day in court. But the news says they're guilty. The police say they're guilty. Is that fair? I'm begging you. I'm begging you from the bottom of my heart. In community with us. To try your best to get yourself out there. We've been in a pandemic for so long. We forgot how to human with one another. And I beg you, please come out, whether it be to city council on Mondays or just join us for dinner on Sundays. Talk to us. Let's learn from each other. Let's show that this Spokane community is connected. Because as organizers, over the past 3 years, absolutely have we got connected. Do you see how many groups are co-sponsoring this event? Do you see how many groups from across ideological platforms are co-sponsoring this event? That's 3 years of work. That's 3 years of coming together. That's 3 years of building relationships. And we've done that while we were asked to be at another table. When they said the people at the table saying they're trying to build relationships with us. While outside of the table, they're doing everything but. I love each and every one of you. I don't have much more to say. My heart is heavy. As heavy as it always is. Because I don't want to. You all have heard this. Well, you've heard the speech about allies and co-conspirators. It's basically at the end of the day, allies can take off their jacket. But some of us can't change our skin color. Some of us can't change things about ourselves. So we can say, oh, we're a part of this group for a second. But when we go home, it's a whole different story. When we approach our families, are these the same spaces where everyone is accepted? Please come together and be part of my family. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice. Appreciate you. Yeah, I think it's important that we actually do some work after this march and show up at City Council with MAC Movement and make sure that our voices are heard and that we want police reform in this community. And yeah, and our next speaker today is going to be Debbie Novak, a community activist. Can we have Debbie up here, please? Thank you, Debbie.
Can they hear me? Okay. I want to thank you for allowing me to come and speak today at this very important event. I'm a member of the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability, and most importantly, I am an impacted family member. I am going to ask you to help with legislation that is currently before the legislature in Olympia, and I'm going to tell you some of my lived experiences here in Spokane with the Spokane Police Department and with the Spokane County Police Department. I'm only going to give you just a little bit or a glimpse of the atrocities I and my family have suffered, and most importantly, what my son suffered that is no longer here. And bear in mind that I am just one of many, many families that have gone through such happenings. I'm Debbie Novak, the mother to David Novak. He was shot and killed by the Spokane City Police Department January 7th, 2019. David was shot in the back. He was unarmed. He had committed no crime. He was attempting to enter his home and literally fell through the front door to his safe place, or what should have been his safe place, his home. He did not run. He walked to the front door with empty hands and was shot. Some will tell you that he was armed with a bat. He was not. He dropped the bat at the time he was told to drop it, and he had not threatened anyone with it. and then walked to his front door. He did follow commands. He then went for 23 minutes without medical care, and all the while there were multiple officers on scene that did nothing to help him. When I watched the video of Tyree Nichols' murder, I dropped to the ground in grief. When I heard him calling to his mother, because I can't help but wonder if David called for me at the time of his death. I am sure he did, or as best he could. And I am saying this in hope that Chief Craig Meidel and Officer Brandon Rankin get to hear this and know the grief they have placed on me and my family with their wanton and reckless actions and disregard for human life. And to the Tyree Nichols family and to his mother and all the mothers out there that have lost a child to police brutality, I want to say that I will do whatever I can to help them, and that I stand in solidarity with them now and always. Chief Meidel in the Spokane Police Department, in a spokesman review article, said that they were not going to make any changes, and they didn't see a need to make any changes, and they have further proved this. He says that he does not want the community to feel like they are making reckless decisions. Well, they are. The things that happened to my son, David, on that night really do mirror what happened to Robert Bradley. Robert Bradley was shot and killed by the Spokane Police Department on September 4th of 2022. I've had many people tell me that the incident is so much like what happened to David. You guys, that is so upsetting because it tells me and it sends a message to all of us that they don't care and they are not going to make any changes. So anyway, my next topic is I really want to talk to you about legislation because we all know we need change. The Washington Coalition for Police Accountability is working tirelessly to pass many bills. The legislature is currently in session. The one that is so dear to me and should be important to all these families is the independent prosecutor bill. This is a bill where there will be no more the Spokane County investigating the city investigating the county when there's a police caused death. It'll be done by an independent state prosecuting attorney, and the investigation will be done by the Office of Independent Investigations. The legislation for the Office of Independent Investigations has already been passed, it's already been approved, and they're currently hiring. We'll have an office here in Spokane. The state prosecuting attorney, which is also House Bill 1579, is the one that I am asking you to please go to the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability website, and you click on a green button that says take action, and you would vote or vote pro on that particular bill. There's many other important bills there, but especially the prosecuting attorney. If we can make these police officers accountable for their actions, it's going to make a huge difference. I brought a list with me of I don't know if you guys are aware, most people aren't, maybe you are, but there were 6 people killed by the Spokane police last year. So I'd like to say their names. This is hugely important to the families when they know that you're going to remember their loved ones. Peterson Camo, Dominic Shears, Terry Allen Starkweather, Robert Bradley, Jeffrey Smith, and Matthew Tears. So that's 6 people just in Spokane last year that were killed by the police. So again, I just want to thank you for having me come, kind of fading out there, come and speak today. And these House bills are very important. Go to the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability website and click on the green button that's Take Action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie, for speaking. I know that's very difficult to talk about, obviously, when you're a family of a victim that has been affected by police brutality. Um, yeah, it's difficult to hear. Our next speaker is going to be Jack Archer from PJALS and SCAR. Would you please come up? Thank you.
Am I in the right spot? Hello, everyone. I took a minute to write down what I was going to say today because I didn't want to go off the cuff. But I'll start by introducing myself. My name's Jack Archer. I use they, them pronouns, and I organize with Spokane Community Against Racism and the Peace and Justice Action League of Spokane. And I don't actually want to be here, in all frankness. This gets exhausting. This gets tiring. I don't think anybody out here is happy to be here because it means that yet again someone has been hurt, someone has been killed, and it was completely, utterly unnecessary. We're here, or at least I'm here, protesting the killing of Tyre Nichols and every person who has been killed by police, who's killed by police in this country. And when I heard that news, I felt kind of hollow. I felt tired. I felt, here we go again. That sense of heavy exhaustion that has come to rest at the pit of my chest every time I hear about someone else being brutalized, murdered by the people whose slogan is unironically protect and serve. And here's the thing, I knew that the officers who killed Mr. Nichols were detained, fired, investigated, and charged with second-degree murder in less than 3 weeks. And when people asked about protesting, my first thought was, for what? What else could I ask for? Everything that I would ask for appears to be being done, and yet I still feel angry and hollow and frustrated. And what I realized is that the thing that I'm asking for, the thing that I want, cannot happen. What I would like, what I would want, is for Mr. Nichols to still be alive. But in lieu of that, what I want are the social conditions that would make his murder never happen again. And those conditions are not mysterious, but they're conditions that we are not often willing to talk about. And I don't just mean in the present. I'm going to get a little academic. I'm going to apologize to y'all. My dad's a professor, so we're going to go to school for a little bit here. The first thing that I am here to demand, since I cannot demand that Tyre Nichols or David Novak or Robert Bradley still be here with us, what I'm going to demand instead is radical honesty. And here's what I mean. See, the word radical comes from the Latin radix, right? Meaning root. I want us to be honest about the root of this problem. Memphis police didn't act in a vacuum. They acted within the context of a culture. They acted within a context somehow where they believed it was okay for them to beat a man to death on camera. They knew they were wearing them. No one thinks that they just snapped one day and this is what happens. We act as though these are one-off things, but how many things happened before it came to this? Human actions build. Somehow the culture built to that point. I want us to be honest about the root of the problem because the Memphis Police Department didn't form in a vacuum. It formed in Memphis, Tennessee, a city in the South, a South that was once riddled by slavery, where that slavery had to be protected with slave catchers, and where those slave catchers wore little golden stars that looked very, very similar to any sheriff's star you might see today. Because the fact is, the first police in the U.S. South, and this is historical fact, were slave catchers, were people whose job it was to keep people like me, people like Mr. Nichols, enslaved, tied to their captors or their traffickers, doing unpaid labor to the end of their days. That was their job. That is why they were formed, to protect property. I want us to be honest about the root of the problem. But you know what? The South didn't exist in a vacuum either. No. You see, slavery wasn't just this random evil that popped up in one place and we can blame it on something wrong with the South of the Mason-Dixon line. See, slavery in the United States was a capitalist institution. And the need to protect an investment in the form of human chattel, the need to do that was a capitalist impulse. They had to protect the source of their wealth. And in the North, there were police too, because when they protected their wealth, they weren't protecting just, nice personal possessions that we all have. Oh, my journals, my books, my things. No, they're protecting their factories, their textile mills, from the rabble, the workers, the black and the brown. Their textile mills that, by the way, were only able to mill the cotton that was picked in the South by slaves who were caught by slave catchers. Police in the North came originally from the need to protect that capitalistic investment. I want us to be honest about the root of the problem. This racialized capitalism that is the foundation of American wealth, it has protected and continues to protect to this day the wealth of a few at the expense of the black and the brown and the Asian and the indigenous and the worker and the poor. And here's the thing. For centuries, this country has outsourced the dirty work of keeping us oppressed, of keeping the rest of us who are not that wealthy few, those who can own factories and those who can somehow sleep at night owning people, be it formally back in the 16, 17, 1800s, or informally now where we outsource at other places and somehow to pretend it's not slavery. We outsource the dirty work of keeping all those people suppressed, of keeping the we suppressed to the police. That is what we have done. We have to be honest about the root of the problem, because if we do not look at it square in the face, if we do not do that, we are no amount of rebranding, no amount of protect and serve language or sheepdog language or training or racial equity things or DEI or any of that is going to solve it. We must be honest about the root of the problem to solve it. I want radical honesty. And I want integrity. You see, police killings, we treat them almost like natural disasters. I didn't come up with that idea. Another organizer did. And it's this notion that somehow these are just inevitable things that happen. And we sigh and we cry. But what are you going to do? Right? Police kill people sometimes. And we talk about it in terms of policy. Oh, no matter how much you train people, someone's always going to break policy, right? We're all human, right? But here's the thing. That is acceptance. We accept and expect police to kill. We expect and accept police punishing people. When in this 21st century, that is not their job. That is their historical job. I'm not going to pretend to whitewash that, but we get to say that that is not what they do. On paper, we say that is not what they do. We say that's the job of the courts to prove people one way or the other, whether they're guilty or innocent, not the cops. We say that's the job of other parts of our legal system, which, they've got their own problems, but let's be real. We have tried to divide these things up and said that we have a system of justice that is meant to mete out that justice based on testimony and people's rights and this understanding that we're all created equal, but instead we're letting our police be judge, jury, and executioner, and we accept it. And in doing so, we are complicit. And it's not fun to say or think about. But we need to stop letting ourselves accept it, stop letting ourselves expect it. We need to take the anger and the pain and the hurt that we may be feeling right now, and we need to take that into action. And that is the last and final thing I'm going to ask. Today, I'm demanding action. And here's the thing, I'm speaking quite literally to the choir right now because we're all right here. And this is a good step. This is one good step in many steps that have come thousands before and thousands to come after. But it's just one thing, and I'm speaking to myself, and I'm speaking to you, and I'm speaking to anyone who's going to watch this video somewhere or who's watching on a stream somewhere. If you've ever said, why isn't anyone doing anything, you have not been paying attention. And that's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but the fact is we all had to start somewhere. I came from a spot of ignorance at one point. Everybody does. So now that you know better, now that I know better, I'm pledging to do better, and I'm asking you to do better. We all have to begin to do things. We have to do things that are uncomfortable, like engage the system. We have to engage our city hall and our county, but not on their terms. Let's be clear. We need to engage them on the people's terms. We need to be comfortable marching into that city hall, as we talked about. We need to be comfortable attending the meetings. We need to be comfortable making a stink. We need to be comfortable walking into places where we may not be wanted. And if we are not comfortable, we need to get comfortable. We need to vote, which I realize is like the lowest possible barrier thing. And there are people out there saying that voting doesn't count. But you know what? One way or another, someone's going to end up in that office, and I'd like to have a say in who. There is so much happening here. And I'm going to highlight some of that because, frankly, these days it is the only thing that has continued to give me hope. I will admit I've spent a little bit more time than I'm comfortable with for my own health lately being angry. And that's not a place that I want to live in. I want to live in a place of hope, and I want to live in a place of love. And my anger is ultimately born from a love of this community, love of people, love of my people, love of Black people, love of community as a whole. And so I'm going to take a moment to name some of the things that are giving me hope right now. We've got all these organizations that have sponsored this event. I want you to go back to the Facebook event, look at those organizations, check them out, follow them, and go to the next thing that they are planning. It is happening here. I'll speak about my organizations. The Peace and Justice Action League of Spokane has been working on something called the BOLD Project, where we are literally going door to door to have uncomfortable, necessary conversations about race and class. It is happening here. I want you to check out Spokane Community Against Racism, who has been working for the last 3 years to develop not just a nice policy document, but a collaborative community process by which we, the people, decide what safety and wellness looks like. It is happening here. And in closing, I want to invite all of us, especially as we go into legislative session. I want to thank Debbie for raising legislation because there's a lot happening in Olympia. And you don't have to track it all by yourself. So many people will bring you into it and help track it with you. We can do this together. But as we look at that, I want to make sure that we reject a notion that's going to pop up over the course of session, that will keep popping up anytime we talk about policy. And that is this false notion of a balance between police reform and public safety, between police reform and the feeling of communities being safe. I'm here to say that police reform, police accountability, these things are public safety. I deserve to feel safe. You deserve to feel safe. The families who have lost loved ones deserved to be safe. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your energy and bringing it into this space and fellowshipping in love and community. We can and we will make a difference. And finally, thank you for being radically honest, for having integrity, and for acting and continuing to act. And I will see you out there.
Thank you, Jack. Jack is from P. Giles and SCAR, and they're doing some amazing work in the community to make sure, first of all, that we know what politicians to make sure that we know that what politicians are doing, and so that we could be out there to go support them in the fight against police brutality. Our next speaker is going to be Curtis Robinson from NAACP. They're the president of NAACP.
Okay. Well, thank you for being out here and doing this. And everything that I've heard so far, just Jack said it right. This is the choir. This is resonating. This is truth. Okay, that better. All right. And I'm gonna tell you, another thing that resonates with me is I don't want to do this either. Tired of it. We've already spoken in the paper about it numerous times. We are tired of watching any human being suffer under this kind of atrocity, let alone the disproportionate dynamic of how our black and brown people and our marginalized populations continue to this day to still be subjected to this horrendous dynamic that is happening with law enforcement. So I'm here to tell you just a couple of things. I've just got a couple of things I'm going to say, and then you can see my son. He's the one kind of doing laps around everything here today. So we're not long for this. But I'm not here calling for law enforcement reform. I'm not saying, we need to redo this and redo that. The industry is being called to transform, because what are we going to reform it to? Jack already mapped it out. What, to its racist roots? To its dominating, marginalized, and poor cultures for the sake of the rich and the influential? Is that what we're trying to reform to? Are we trying to reform to the days when the first record of holding them accountable started to happen, and the corruption and all that kind of stuff started coming out really in the 60s? Are we trying to reform to that? And my answer is no. The industry is being called to change. It's being called to manifest what it's always promised to do, but has never quite been able to actually be, which is, Jack hit it again, and I'm sure it's already been talked about, where they are representing the best of us and not the worst of themselves. So, and those of you that know, I just back in the saddle again, back in the seat again of the presidency, and that's okay. I'm good for it. I guess what I wanted to name is that the work that we started back then, the work that was begun while the NAACP it even had to be founded in the first place, continues today, and that's a problem. We're still here for a reason. You're still standing out here for a reason. And what it's going to take, and I hit on this, I'm going to hit on this in just my little cliff notes here real quick, is it's going to take more than just standing out here and protesting. It's going to take more than just marching out in the streets. You've already been given direction and some things that you can do. Yeah, you got to do more than that. What you're going to have to do almost certainly is address some of the unconscious social programming that some of us have to what we're running up against with the dynamics and structures that have been in the news lately and have manifested historically. Is we're good with talking about taking action until it's time to take that action. And then we have to start dealing with our investment in the way the system operates and our identities that are built on that. That's what we have to start dealing with. There is a work being invited to do in us as well as the work around us, and it must happen simultaneously. We cannot hold them accountable. We cannot hold our legislators accountable if we're not being accountable ourselves to the same principles that we're calling for them to do. We all have to do it. And that's that human piece in this work. So when we're coming to the places and spaces where we're calling for this change to happen, where we're calling for this evolution, for this transformation, we need to show up right, not just righteous. Okay? So I hope you really hear that. And the reality is, no matter who you are behind that badge, no matter what color you are behind that badge, this disproportionate violent, horrendous treatment that continues to unleash itself on people of color can no longer continue to happen. And are you willing to not only get out there and vote, because yes, your vote does matter, because in case you hadn't noticed, the vote is what put the county commissioners in the office right now. Okay, so don't tell me your vote doesn't matter. Okay, but more than your vote, are you having the conversations with your neighbors and the uncomfortable conversations with the people that don't necessarily agree with you on why this is important, on why these things need to change? Okay, because we've obviously voted to some greater or lesser degree, and let me just ask for a show of hands in here. How many people voted this last session? Okay, yet we're still here. Real talk. So it's going to take that and more. It's going to take confronting your unwillingness to confront that neighbor. It's going to take your confronting that within yourselves. It's going to take pushing through that and having that uncomfortable conversation. Guess what? In the same humanizing way that we are demanding we be treated. Do you understand that? We have to do more. That's it. That's all. Quit kicking, quit kicking and quit, how do they say that? Quit kicking the pricks about it and get on with it. Okay? So we all have work to do. We all have work to do in us while we do this work around us. Our society, as well as this industry, is being called to transform, to really capture those best ideals that are embedded in the Constitution, as well as the other stuff, right? 3/5 of a man, women never mentioned, and merciless Indian savages, in case you haven't read it lately. Okay? 50 male gender pronouns. Watch the Mark Charles video. It's awesome. It'll help, educate you. Encourage your neighbors to watch that kind of stuff. So being real intentional and mindful of that. And one thing I'm going to do here before I go is just let you know that we are committed to and will continue to push, not only as an NAACP branch, even though we're not necessarily on the logo dynamic. I just didn't have time. Sorry, it just became precedent like Tuesday. Okay, so but we're here, and I appreciate this group making room for us to come in here and let you know how much and our partners know that. They know that we're with them, and they know that we stand with them in solidarity and mission support and the work. Let me just say that very clearly, the work, and that work just not being getting in legislation, talking to them about that, talking to our local officials, finding our allies. Some of them are here in this space right now. They're our partners. They're not perfect. Nobody is. But we can, we must, we will do better. And as Jack said, we demand that. And we not only demand that of them, we must demand that of ourselves. We're all in this together. Here are some names for you. Herbert Hightower, Tim Elliott, Antonio Zambaro Montes, Samuel Smith, Jacqueline Slayers, Marco Perella, Jay Taylor, Omer Ismail Ali, Justin Baker, Justin Burton, Manuel Gomez, Damaris Boots, Adrian Escobar, Jose Garcia, Joshua Paul, William Langfit, Stonechild Chiefstick, Western Willow Welco, Robert Smith. I have a page and a half of names. So when you start running into that place and space where you don't want to talk to this legislator, or you don't want to talk to your neighbor, or you don't want to have that conversation, you're tired of showing up, you're tired of this, you're tired of that, whip out this list of names. Look it up. I looked it up online. Did you? Do you know how many people have died? And do you know that this is not just about us, the people receiving disproportionate violence at the hands of law enforcement? It is also about the human family on the other side of that badge. Because I'm here to tell you, America and Spokane, we failed them too. Because last time I looked, there are some good people in some of that work. and they're struggling. Their suicide rates in that country are off the charts. We have a problem. And it is not just a problem with how they're acting. It's a problem with what we've tasked them up to do and the fact that they haven't been held accountable. You cannot develop any healthy human being without accountability. I got one running around right here. He's accountable. Okay? But accountable with love, accountable with support and healthy boundaries and transparency. And real talk, you might feel like it's 50 degrees. You might feel like it's 72. It's still 68. So how do we deal with that complexity in the place, in the space, and the reality, know where we're at and know where we got to go, and quit messing around and let's get to it. I love you all very much. We're with you.
Thank you, Curtis. I know it's tough having a kid and stuff, and I appreciate you coming out, seriously. Our next speaker is going to be Chris Clay, who's a student from Whitworth.
What's good, everybody? My name is Chris. Like they said, I use he, him pronouns. I'm not from Spokane initially. I'm from Tacoma, Washington. I'm an Act 6 scholar, so I was blessed with the opportunity to come out here and get my education. I'm a community health worker. Now I'm just trying to find my place and figure out what I'm doing out here. My friend Zach gave me the opportunity to speak, so I'd like to say thank you to everybody who's allowed me to speak to you, and hopefully we can find some resolutions to the issues that we're dealing with. First, I'd like to extend our collective condolences to the family of Tyre Nichols, the Memphis community, and Black people that were surely affected by this event. Their family, especially Tyre's mother, has shown a tremendous amount of grace, humility, and courage in a moment where they should be resolving their loss however they feel. Spokane, here we are again, having another protest about another unique community member lost to unnecessary and unjustifiable harm and violence, to people that are idolized and protected by our country's complacent culture and inequitable systems. All across the nation, we hear state officials condemning these actions, calling them heinous, inhumane, brutal, arrogant, reckless, the list goes on. Yet I'm left to wonder what separates this murder from the last ones they've condemned. Is it the 5 Black police officers that made them complete a swift internal investigation and dole out punishment? Is it the lack of reasonable de-escalation procedures that help officers engage with the community? Is it the good apples in their ranks that suddenly destroy a tree that bears rotten fruit? Whatever the case may be, we find ourselves dealing with the same symptoms of a state that can't correct its condition. Police do not know how to operate in our community, and that those that are most at risk are still being affected, whether they are Black, Indigenous, gender fluid, the list goes on. And for a country that worships its freedom, it places our community in a tighter bind. When my community and I are cautious and abide by laws that weren't created with our personhood in mind, we can and still will be killed. When our reaction doesn't follow protocol, the system salivates as we provide quote unquote reason to harm or kill us slowly but surely. According to ABC reporters, of 100 city and county budgets analyzed, 83% increased spending on police in 2022 compared to 2019. Per day, we spend at least $759 million on law enforcement and corrections facilities, according to Stephen Semler from Speaking Security newsletter. And as we know, Spokane also ranks 3rd for deadliest police force, no matter how the data is interpreted, according to an opinion article from Sean Vestal. I can give you all the statistics, and I can push them based off my viewpoints. But from where we were with George Floyd's killing, Breonna Taylor's killings, and countless other Black bodies, one thing remains. My people and my community are still dying at the hands of those who were sworn to protect and serve us. The only thing I see them protecting and serving is fucking property. Large corporations, people who are wealthy, and systems that continue to harm and displace my community. Y'all, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm exhausted and tired, and I know countless other advocates and fighters within our communities are as well. We tell our representatives the same thing, and they provide face value change. They provide words. When are those actions going to follow? When is systemic change going to follow? When can we expect qualified immunity to be dismantled? When can I expect my siblings or my children's life to actually matter? When will I feel comfortable calling the police when I feel in danger and expect them not to harm me? We explain how we envision our community. We demand changes that help people get a better livelihood, yet it falls short for conditions that we have been subjected to for generations. It's hard for me to believe that humans will always fall short when undeserved communities are still treated like subhuman. The reliance on each other when we are merely surviving is evidence to our ability to improve the circumstances the reliance on each other when we are merely surviving is evidence to our ability to improve the circumstances if we are given space to speak, to feel, and honor our existence. We can't, we shouldn't, and we won't do this work alone. We are tired of desensitizing ourselves to the harmful treatments of the state. As an act of liberation, I encourage you to engage and interact with your community as authentically as you can. Get to know those around you. As we work to create safe spaces for ourselves, let's work to heal, to honor, and remember those that came before us, and to reimagine what stability can look like. As we work to create safe spaces for ourselves, let's work to heal, to honor, and remember those that came before us, and to reimagine what stability can look like. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next speaker is going to be Drea from Mac Movement.
White, Hustle Halt, Isqueeze, Andrea, and Hihi Twill. Hitum Isqueeze, Regina Sherwood. Hello and good day. My name is Andrea, and my Indian name is Phoenix. My mother's name is Regina Sherwood. I was speaking a little bit of Salish. Been trying to learn a little bit of the Spokane language, the Salish language, and the Colville dialect, just to do my part to decolonize and to keep our culture alive. I just want to start off by saying that there's no honor in genocide. I'm a descendant of the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene tribe. And, but we don't die, we multiply. Because we come from a long line of strong people and a heritage. And we're constantly being murdered. Literally, physically, mentally, through the media, through racist systems, by the police, by circumstances, with substance like drugs and alcohol. And enough is enough. Missing murdered Indigenous is too common for my people, for us young people growing up. If you would ask a person if they knew somebody that was murdered, we all know somebody that was murdered or missing. But if you ask somebody in the richer neighborhoods if they ever, most of them wouldn't have the same things. I was a little late. I was supposed to do the land acknowledgement earlier, but I too have kids. I do want to just say a little bit of it here because I'm kind of fumbling on my words of my speech. But the ground. Yes, I do a lot of work for the Missing Murdered Indigenous, and she just gave me a flyer. This is a young person that is is missing. I'm gonna read it. Esmeralda, but they go by, right? They go by something else. Kit, yes. You can visit Finding Kit on Facebook to get more information. This is her mom, and you can just get more information and find more information of how to help find Kit. So please look into that and look into more websites on missing, murdered, indigenous, because we are being missing and murdered by a rate that's 10 times faster than the regular people. Or sorry. I want to say that the ground that on which we stand on is sacred ground, and it's the dust and blood of our ancestors. And there's power when we stand together and when we pray together for the better of humanity. And just blessings to everybody that's here. You know, we could all be somewhere else, but we're all here standing in solidarity, and that's what makes the difference. Another reason why I'm up here speaking, because I too was a victim of police brutality when a lot of the Spokane and the world was watching when George Floyd was murdered and Spokane gathered for a protest here. And I got singled out. And the police, you know, they took their chance when they seen that I was away from all of my friends and my people during the protest. They just started unloading, shooting the smoke bombs at us and the tear gas at us and just unloading on us. And I was stuck in between the smoke and the police. And I looked at him and I told him, like, you don't have no right to do this. We have the right to a peaceful protest. And they just shooed me, said, go, go. And I went to go, and all there was smoke. And I'm like, I can't. There's nowhere for me to go. And then they started to come after me and tackle me, so I went to run. And about 5 or 6 of them tackled me into the ground right into the smoke. And there's the video that's out there, and you can find it. And they did the very thing that we were there protesting against. One officer put his knee in my back of my neck, and I couldn't breathe. And it's just every thought came through my mind, my kids, like my life, I'm gonna die. Like, it's happening, this is bad. And then all of a sudden someone said, that's enough. And then they got off of me, and then they tell me to get up, and I'm not resisting, I'm not resisting. So like, you know, the very reason we were there protesting, you know, we were there trying to send a message, and I felt like when they did that to me, they sent the message right back that they don't care. And they're going to keep doing what they're doing, and they're going to cover it up because they have the money and the power. But the power of the people is stronger than the people in power. So by the bottom of my heart, I thank each and every one of you for being here. You know, I'm lucky to be here. Like, they could have killed me that day. My kids could be without a mother. And we just got to stand up to that. It's not right. It's not okay. They do not have the right to kill. We need to quit giving them that power. So we just need to take our power back and come together. So I'm also a co-founder of MAC Movement, and MAC Movement is Music, Art, and Creativity Movement. along with my sister and co-founder, Crystal, and our secretary, Alexis. We meet every Monday and we do a free food with a side of free speech because on Mondays, they're having city council meetings and they're making decisions without us. And so we're trying to make a comfortable environment for people to come and for you guys to check it out. You know, we're all really cool people. So if you just come and we give free food and we have chalk so that we can do chalk art because sometimes it is hard to get up there and talk to the city council, but using the sidewalks and chalk is also a way of freedom of speech and it's our right. And so you can just write whatever you want. But also we really encourage you to come and speak and be heard because there's a lot of changes that we need. And it's up to us to make the people that have the power to hold them accountable for those things. So I invite you guys to come every Monday. We're there at 5-ish. The city council meeting starts at 6. We also have brochures and buttons and stuff over there at this table if you guys want to check that stuff out and just keep doing what you're doing. I can't thank you guys enough. And yeah, just power to the people. Lamb Lunch, thank you.
All right, next up we got Zach McGuckin from PSL. Please welcome Zach up here.
What's up, everybody? You all have been standing there for a while, so let's do a chant to warm us up. So we're gonna go, what do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. If we don't get it, shut it down, all right? What do we want? When do we want it? If we don't get it, if we don't get it, if we don't get it. All right, that was pretty good. Warming you all up for the march. Am I good? Yeah, my bad. All right. I'm gonna let you all in on a very obvious secret. America is a deeply racist country. It's in our founding character. The Declaration of Independence, when it was first installed, allowed 6% of our country to vote. So much for we the people, so much for democracy. Those 6%, the rich, they were able to vote because they were rich. And why were they rich? Because of the labor of enslaved black people. The labor of this enslaved black people made these people rich, and in order to ensure they had this labor, they built slave patrols, the origins of our current police. While our police has changed in form, it's never changed in function. I'm going to say that again because it's important. Our police have changed in form from the slave patrols, but it's never changed in function. A boss can call the police when their workers strike, but workers can't call the police when their boss is abusing them. A landlord can call the police to help evict a tenant, but tenants can't call the police when their landlord is abusing them. A store owner can call the police when someone steals food, but the hungry can't call the police on those denying them food. The police threaten Camp Hope, but they're not going to be threatening people in order to ensure housing. Black people have the police called on them just for existing in this country. And black people cannot call upon the police to dismantle this racist, oppressive system. Why is this? It's because the police serve that same 6% this country was made for, who are the original people who are able to vote. The police aren't here to serve the people. They're here to serve that 6%. So we need police accountability, yeah, but we need a lot more than just police that get arrested when they do something bad. We need police that are serving the people, that are there fundamentally for our interests, that are there to uproot oppression. not just police that get arrested when they do something evil. The only way we can achieve this is by a mass movement of us, the people, because we're the class that is incentivized to do it. We're the ones that are targeted by police. And that's why we're going to City Hall this Monday to let City Hall know that they can't just serve this 6%. They have to serve the people. And we need to let them know that we're not going to rest. They will not have a moment of peace until they serve the people. And until we are free from all forms of exploitation and oppression, until this happens, they're not going to experience a moment of calm. And this change is not going to come from their system. That system's here to serve the 6% that this country was built for. That change is going to come from us implementing our own system, us building power amongst us. The power of the people is stronger than the powerful people. I think that's what the other person said. As the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, we are in a class struggle. We live under the domination of the rich. So in this struggle, there's no neutrality because our whole system has been built to subjugate us. Our system's been built to hurt the poor. Our system's been built to hurt black people. And we see that time and time again with these murders. There's a war on black America, and it's up to the people to end it. We're fighting for an end to exploitation, an end to oppression, an end to racism, and an end to the domination of the rich. And we need you all to get involved, to show up on city council on Monday, to show up to any of these organizations' meetings, because it's us that is going to end this. So I'll lead you in another chant. What do we want? When do we want it? If we don't get it, if we don't get it, if we don't get it.
All right, that's it. Please, once again, look at our asks here. Attend city council meetings with MAC Movement. Support the Police Leadership Accountability Commission, Plaque 2016 for police reform, and contact our county commissioners and say no new jail. All right, Zach's going to lead you out. Thank you, everybody, for coming.